If you're joining us for the first time, thank you so much. We are going to be having this rehearsal and then 2 more Tuesday evening rehearsals. You can jump in on any of them. You can record at any point and submit. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the end, but we are happy to have you.
So that's Ben in the background. Oh, perfect. Susie and David. Okay, perfect. Well, then he's joining. He did? I just want to make sure that's email works. Oh, I need my music. We're not on mute. Right. I shouldn't need that.
All right. I hope everyone's been having a wonderful week since we met last time. If you've been in Maryland, the weather has been amazing. I hope you've all gotten a chance to enjoy it. Peak foliage down here. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started with some housekeeping. We're going to be doing some warm-ups. Then this week we're going to focus more on the Coventry Carol itself. We're going to dig in sort of line by line. 1 second. So we're getting some back-end stuff worked out. So we're going to go through Coventry Carol line by line and have a little bit more of an in-depth look at the text. We're going to talk about the history of the piece a little bit. We're going to have a time for questions going over specific voice parts. So that's a great opportunity to use the chat function. When we stop for questions, you can just use that little button on the bottom of your screen that says chat and ask, alto part in this measure, and we can go over that specifically. And then we are going to do a run through of both the Coventry Carol and Holly and the Ivy using the audio that you'll be using to record. So hopefully this will help give you a better picture of what's going to be happening, and then we'll have even more time for questions about that audio specifically and the recording process at the end. So, all of that said, let's actually start singing. Oh, if you're joining us for the first time tonight, my name is Sandra. I'm the Artistic Director of the Bel Air Community Chorus, and we are very happy to have you. So we're going to start with a warm-up I don't think I've ever done with the choir in person, but it's coming because it's one of my favorites. It's a nice open sound, like yummy. And the key to this warm-up is a nice loose jaw and throat. You almost want to picture that you have like an Oreo in between the roof of your mouth and your tongue, like really nice and open. And you should feel a lot of buzzing in your lips as you're doing this, almost a tickle. So we're just going to go. Join with me. It should almost feel a little bit nasally. It's sort of getting us our air moving, getting our lips moving, and getting us into that nice forward placement. All right, so our next warm-up is, let's start. Good old C major. E-O, 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 E. And as we're doing this, think about how your lips and your tongue are changing the vowel sounds. It's E-O, 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 E. And for all of my Marylanders, nice tall O's. And We want to focus on not moving the jaw too much. Sometimes that can introduce intonation problems. E-O, E-O, just nice and smooth. Sometimes I even just put my hand like this. E-O, 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 E. Just nice, loose, open, easy. E-O, 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 E. 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 Last one. Great. And our last warm-up is going to be thicka, thacka, thicka, thacka, thicka, thacka, thick. Thicka, thacka, thicka, thacka, thick. We're going to focus on diction here. We'll be talking about why diction is very important in this scenario in a few minutes. So thicka, thacka. Eventually, after a few repetitions, we'll change to picka, packa, like picking an apple. And we'll end with ricka, racka. So it might be kind of hard to hear. Just I'll try to make it clear when we're changing consonant sounds. 1, 2, ready, sing. Ticka tacka, ticka tacka, ticka tacka, tick. Ticka tacka, ticka tacka, ticka tacka, tick. Ticka tacka, ticka tacka, ticka tacka, tick. Ticka tacka, ticka tacka, ricka racka. Next. Ricka racka, ricka racka, ricka racka, rick. 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 Picka packa, picka packa, picka packa, pick. Picka packa, picka packa, picka packa, pick. Picka packa, picka packa, picka packa, pick. Last one. Picka packa, picka packa, picka packa, pick. Woo! Lots of allergies in this house. All right, so let's look at Coventry Carol. As we're turning to that page, you can do some vocal sirens if you want, anything that you would typically do, any stretches, just to loosen up and get ready to sing. So I did a little bit of research about this piece. We had some discrepancies in the lyrics, so as I was looking that up, I found some interesting history. This is a super, super, super old hymn. It dates back to the 16th century. It was written for Coventry Mystery Plays, which were these cycles of plays that were produced by monasteries in Coventry, England. And they told biblical stories in a way that the illiterate population was unable to understand. And obviously this text depicts the very morbid story of King Herod, but the use of the Picardy third at the end, which we talked a little bit about last time, is sort of this musical nod to the brighter and better things ahead. So another thing that I found really interesting is that this piece has always traditionally been performed a cappella. And I just love thinking about people singing this in the late 1500s and us singing it a cappella in 2020 via Zoom amidst a pandemic. One of my favorite things about music is how it's something from the 1500s that we still have today. And I just think that's very cool. All right. So we do have that lyric change. So in your music, it says, and ever morn and day. Yes, in verse 3 on the second system, so the very middle of your page, and ever morn and day should be and ever morn and say, S-A-Y. So go ahead and mark that down. Unfortunately, in the practice tracks, it does say day, but I trust you guys because say makes much more sense in that context. All right, so let's just look at the opening 7 measures. This is sort of stating the theme right up top. We talked a little bit about phrasing last time, connecting. Lule, lule, no break, thou little tiny child. Break. Bye, bye, lule. You guys are lucky that we're not in person, so I can't make you answer questions out loud. So the peak of this phrase, in choir rehearsals, we often talk about what we're leading up to and what we're sort of backing away from. And in this phrase, I feel that we're leading into Lule, thou little tiny child. So little tiny child, sort of crescendo into that. Use the momentum of not taking a breath to build into that phrase. And when you back away from child or any of these ends of phrases, because of the compression in the device that you're going to be recording with, keep everything just a little more exaggerated than you would normally. So we still want to be audible, but if you would think that it was a piano, maybe take it up to a mezzo piano, just sort of ratchet everything up one bump. And that also goes for diction. Very, very, very important when you're doing these virtual video type things that you have very strong diction. So little tiny child, not abrasive T's, but present, and definitely not little tiny child. Bye bye, lule, lule, same text as before. Do we repeat line 1 at the end? Good question. No, we sing that line right up top, and then we just sing the 3 verses right in a row. Good question. Okay, let's everyone in the comfort of your own homes sing these first 7 measures together. Let me know if the piano is too loud or not loud enough. 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, sing. Little tiny child, bye bye, lule, lule. And when we land on that Picardy third, almost picture, I don't know what movie company it is, but there's a movie company and their bumper is like this feather sort of swinging back and forth until it gently lands on the pond. And that's what I picture when I hear that phrase. So just sort of delicately landing. We're not shying away from it. We're just sort of delicately descending upon it. Let's try that one more time, and I won't sing this time. 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, sing. I assume that sounded lovely. Altos, that F sharp, that's really your time to shine. Don't sledgehammer it to death, but give it like a little shoulder lean. Bye bye, lule, lule. And because you have that F natural, make sure that F sharp is nice and high. Great. Any questions about that first line? Going once, going twice. First verse. So this starts with just sopranos and altos. I'm going to play the entirety of the part that just sopranos and altos sing. Let's chat about it first, actually. So, oh, sisters, too, how may we do? I think how may is sort of the peak of this phrase, and for to preserve this day. And we really want to make sure, oh sisters too, we don't get those snake-like S's. Oh sisters too. Just nice and quick, get to the meat of the vowel. For to preserve this day. And we want preserve to almost have like a bit of an H in it. For to preserve this day. Instead of preserve, preserve. Think British children. All right, sopranos and altos, sing with me. 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, sing. Great. Let's all double check to make sure we're muted. I think I heard some stragglers there, but the stragglers I heard sounded beautiful. All right, so then tenors, you join the party, this poor youngling for whom we do sing. And right off the bat, I just want to say for whom we do sing, there's not a break, but I want that to be very rhythmically clear because of the compression and the variety of issues that virtual recording brings about. We really want to make sure it's whom we do sing. So starting at this poor youngling for whom we do sing, I would say we're building up to whom. Think of that as the middle point of your swells and decrescendo. This poor youngling for whom we do sing, quick break, bye bye luli lule, and we want to land softly. Oh, basses, I'm getting ahead of myself. Just the parts the tenors join us with. So this poor youngling for whom we do sing, that's all we're going to do. Tenors, altos, sopranos, sing with me. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. I'm just going to play the tenor part. It's very close to the alto part. It's in thirds, so I think we may sometimes have trouble hearing that. So tenors, this is just you. And everybody in the pool for the last 3 measures, this is exactly what we talked about in the first line. Everybody sing with me. 1, 2, 3. Great. Any questions about that verse? Oh no! Is anyone else having audio issues? Oh no, I'm sorry, hopefully. Oh. I can't blame you if you did. All right. We'll just move on for now. I hope everything gets worked out. So, verse 2, Herod the king and his raging. This is very somber verse. So, think about that when you're bringing your nice dark vowel tone. We're just going to go, let's go phrase by phrase here. So we're just going to do the first 4 measures. Similar phrasing to the first verse. Herod the king in his raging. A little bit less of a build, I would say. A little bit steadier, a little bit more reverent. This is second system, first measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nice and easy. Charged he hath this day. Tricky words. So even though it's charged, we're going to say charged he hath this day. So that can be that can be tricky to sing. Don't let the TH bog you down too much. Really get through it pretty quickly. Charged he hath this day. It's almost hath this day. You can almost combine the TH at the end of hath and the TH at the beginning of this. Let's just do those 2.5 measures. Charged he hath this day. 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, sing. Easy enough. Well, kind of tricky, but not that bad. All right, then we go on to his men of might in his own sight, all young children to slay. And I want to make sure that we're saying children, not children. All young children to slay. Nice and tall, children. Very dramatic. Let's start at the pickup to the last system, second verse, and we're going to do that whole last line. This is his men of might. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Another thing I want to mention overall about this piece, because of the nature of what we're doing here, we're using a click track. You'll hear that when we run through these pieces at the end, and that means I should be better about it now, honestly. I'm sort of doing these rubato, these nice musical moments. That can't happen. We're going to have a literal metronome in the background. So make sure your cutoffs at the end of verses are snappy, because you're going to have right into it. No breaks, no pause, just very metronomic, literally. So we have to do what we can with dynamics, with diction, with phrasing to sort of make it feel more musical within those constraints. All right, any questions about the second verse? Awesome. Third verse, this is sort of the emotional culmination of this piece. So right away, I'm trying to introduce a little bit more intensity with that optional low G for my bass friends. So you have the option to do the first three G's, and then bring that very last G in the third verse down the octave. So I would say when you attack this, it's your fullest verse. I hesitate to say loud because I think sometimes we can get a little shouty in this kind of setting. So supported, I would say intense. Just think intensity. And we have lots of hard consonants to get through to help us with that. That woe is me. Make sure, I would almost say that two. If we were in rehearsal, I would tell you to physically write that T right at the front of woe. So that woe is me. Poor child, for thee. And the thee, it should almost sound like a Z. Poor child, for thee. Everyone at home go thee. Nice and zingy. Thee. You can take it up and down. Thee, 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 thee. We want it to sound like someone making a race car sound effect. That woe is me, poor child, for thee. And get a little bit of pitch behind that TH. Thee. And ever mourn and say, for thy parting neither say nor sing. The rhythm here changes a little bit. So instead of holding those two tied quarter notes in the second measure of the third system. They're separated. For thy parting neither say. That tripped me up a little bit when I was making the part tapes. So I would maybe go ahead and circle that now. Neither say nor sing. And again, we want these S's to be nice and quick. Don't hang on to them. Neither say nor sing. Bye bye, Luli, Lule. Let's just go ahead and sing through that third verse. If you're a bass, you are encouraged to take that down. Oh, Janine, it's and ever, mourn, and say, S-A-Y. All right, this is second system, first measure, third verse. That feels very, $3, 2 bags, 1 me from Annie. Second system, first verse. Second system, first measure, third verse. Oh my goodness. 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, sing. For thee, break. I'm sure that sounded wonderful. We didn't talk about our phrasing here. That was my oversight. That woe is me, poor child, for thee. I sort of see two peaks. That woe is me, poor child, for thee. And ever mourn and say, for thy parting. For thy parting neither say nor sing. So we're going to end that verse with a little bit more intensity. Bye bye, Luli, Lule. And then just float into that pickardy third. Any questions about that verse, about this song? If you want to hear a certain measure in your voice part, now is the time to ask that. Nathan says neither or neither. Is that correct? Okay. Good question. For thy parting neither, like Bill Nye, the science guy. Thy parting neither. I didn't, Chris. Good question. Did you tell us what Lily? Like the Luli, Lule? Yes. So in the play, it's very sad. In the play, this is sung by the mothers who have children that are going to be killed by King Herod. So it's really just the restatement of a lullaby. So yes, it is pretty intense for a Christmas song. Breath between me and in measure 2. Oh, that woe is me, poor child, no breath. Yeah, keep that connected and then breathe after V. Notes first, then words is an excellent strategy here. These are all very good questions. All right. Who was singing in verse 1? Oh, yes. Excellent. We'll go through that again. So, starting at the very top, everyone sings the first statement of Luli Lule. And then when we get to verse 1, O sisters 2, sopranos and altos only sing. O sisters 2, how may we do for to preserve this day? That block is sopranos and altos. Tenors join sopranos and altos. This poor youngling for whom we do sing. So that's the top 3 voice parts. And then basses join for bye bye, Luli, Lule. For verses 2 and 3, everyone's together. make sure I already talked about sort of exaggerating our phrasing. I want to give some more practical advice. If you've ever done musical theater, you're sort of picturing, filling a room and overdoing everything. Not to that degree, but definitely have a focus on diction, have a focus on starting your phrases strong and finishing them strong. I think it can be easy when you're in a big ensemble to contribute to a decrescendo by backing off a little bit more, maybe to compensate for the room. And we really just want to individually just emphasize the dynamic changes, emphasize the diction, especially with those S's, the TH. That stuff can get really fuzzy really quick when we're doing recordings like this. Any other questions? Okay, the question is, am I absolutely sure I want us to sing Say on the third verse? Yes. Yes. This piece is translated from Old English, so I think maybe the use of say again is maybe can be contributed to that. But according to what I was finding, I was seeing that woe is me, poor child, for thee, and ever mourn and say. If you know otherwise, please let me know. I'm, the internet is definitely full of mistakes. So for now, we're going to go with mourn and say, and I will double check against some other sources just to make absolutely sure. All right, any other questions? Great. Okay, so let's do this. We're going to move on to the holly and the ivy. We're going to just do sort of like a light overview. We're going to talk about the solo sections again, and then we're going to sing that piece with the click track. We're going to do a little bit of part work, but we're mostly just going to run through it with the click track. So let's turn over to the holly and the ivy. Okay, so solos. I am going to ask you, if you are interested in auditioning for the solo, to email a video of your audition to info@bellaircommunitychorus.org. I believe if you go to the Contact Us section of our website, that's the email address that's listed there. Addie, please correct me if I'm wrong. But it's easy to remember, info@bellaircommunitychorus.org. You've probably gotten an email from that address already. And if you're interested in auditioning, please sing the very first solo. So that would be the holly and the ivy, when they are both full grown. Of all the trees that are in the wood, the holly bears the crown. So the solo that ends in measure 10. That doesn't necessarily mean that's the solo you'll be chosen for if you're chosen for a solo, but just so we have sort of an even comparison. And if I didn't mention it before, we are going to have a brass quartet join us for this piece. I just got those recordings. I'm very excited about that. And the tutti part, everyone all together, is very simple, very repetitive. Sorry, terrible allergies today. So let's all turn to page 7. I think that's one of the only instances where this tutti refrain is on the same page. So just out of ease. And I'm gonna do soprano and alto together and then bass and tenor together. Just because of the way this is written, I think it can get a little muddy. So altos and sopranos, sopranos always come in an eighth note after everyone else. This could sound very sloppy, and I debated moving sopranos to come in with everyone, but I decided I sort of like it as a musical figure, and I have full confidence that we'll be able to execute it with precision. So altos, those are your notes. The rising of the sun and the running of the deer, no break, breath. The playing of the merry organ, sweet singing in the choir. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So you have some nice active parts there. I really love this crunchy playing with passing tones that we see. Measures 32 to the end of that phrase. And I really love altos that you have almost the exact same figure that you had in the Coventry Carol on the same exact notes. So you're just the queens of that G, delayed F sharp, back to G. So let's run through tenors and basses for notes, and then we'll talk text. Basses, tenors. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Basses, you guys have that really nasty. Something I like to do when I'm singing a piece that has some big octaves is do a warm-up, just something like, just get used to flipping through that octave. And unfortunately, merry organ is sort of a rough phrase to have that on. So I would really lean on that R in merry organ. Yeah, that's tricky. Good luck. Okay, so just talking through the text in general, the rising of the sun and the running of the deer, the rising of the sun and the running of the deer. So sun and deer are what I would choose to emphasize here. Break. The playing of the merry organ, sweet singing in the choir. And here I would sort of delay our swell, just make it a nice slow crescendo, grow into sweet singing. Very on the nose, but I like it. And sweet singing is another opportunity for us to introduce some clarity with our diction. So merry organ, sweet singing, sweet singing. It's eighth notes, so it's nice and quick. Really just try to get that T and that S out of the way so you can get to the meat of the vowel. All right, any questions about that phrase, which I believe is identical every single time you sing it? Does anyone want to hear a specific part before we do a run through? Tenors, I'm going to play a part for you because I thought it was tricky. So when you have the playing of the merry organ, sweet singing in the choir, which again, super tricky word to say. We're going to try to keep choir nice and tall without emphasizing the R. So tenors, you have I find that F sharp to B, I find that I either wanted to make it or. So it feels, to me, it almost feels like it should be higher. That tripped me up. It might not be tripping you up. I thought I would just point it out. Basses, I want to point out your half note, the rising of the sun. Everyone else has movement, but you are the foundation. So it's really important that you have that sustained G and you're keeping it going. You're like the motor underneath everyone else's movement. So nice and supported, and use your lack of a break to build momentum into and the running of the deer. Any questions? Okay, I think we should try and go through the click tracks. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to be playing the click tracks right off the website where you can get them too. Before we start, I want to remind you that in order to line up our video with our audio, it will be a huge help to me if we clap on the first beat of the third measure that you hear. So I'll demonstrate what that's going to look like, and then I'm also going to try to conduct along. You might not be able to see me and the screen at the same time, but even if you can see the thumbnail, it just might be helpful, if not refreshing, to see someone conduct while you sing. Addie, can you make me the host again, please? I'm the host. I'm drunk with power. All right, share my screen. So I'm just right on the Bel Air website. If you go to our festive singing page, we have practice tracks listed right here. Please use them. I need to share my Oh, did I turn it off? Sorry. Sign of the times. All right, so we're going to start with the Coventry Carol. And as a reminder, we're going to clap on the first beat of the third measure when we record, so we might as well practice it now. The recording's just going to keep chugging along, so do your best to keep up, and we'll have a quick time for Q&As after we run through both of the pieces. Clap. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too bad. We will have time for Q&A in a second, but first we're going to hop on over to the holly and the ivy. And you'll hear the brass parts, which you may not see in your music. Just a heads up. So be counting rests, and the solo parts are played on the piano. Great. All right, can everyone still hear me? Perfect. Oh, thank you, Catrice. I'm so glad someone's using that. Yay! We have one confirmation that the practice tracks are indeed helpful. Okay, any questions about either of those pieces, about the tracks? I do want to add that I will be recording a video this week. If you would prefer to use a video to watch me conduct, you can also just listen and hold your music, whatever makes you most comfortable. Oh, good question, Janine. What is the deadline for the solo submission, and do I prefer video or just audio? The deadline for the solo audition is next Sunday by 5 p.m. I can't believe I forgot to mention that. Thank you, Janine. So I'll be announcing what we're going to be doing next Tuesday in terms of the solo. And also next Tuesday, we're going to try to split into sectionals. So I've got some logistics to figure out on my end, but I'm really thinking we can make that happen. So we'll be convening in the beginning to talk about the solo, to talk through some other housekeeping things, and then we'll be splitting into sectionals so you can work with people who are singing your voice part. No rallentando at the end, unfortunately. I just couldn't think of a way to do it that would be clean enough. I'd seen some people online saying they tried some different things, and at the end of the day, it just didn't translate well. It does pain me inside to not have the rallentando, but yeah, unfortunately. Sherry, nope, no memory necessary. You can hold that music up. Try not to cover your face, like hold it like you would in a concert, but absolutely no requirement to memorize music. Yes, Amanda, Sunday 10:25, ideally by around 5 p.m. I mean, I'll be up later than that, so really Sunday evening, let's say. Marcy, all of this stuff is not behind the membership wall. So if you go to the Festive Singing page on the home page, there's a big button that says View Practice Tracks, and that's a separate page that just has practice tracks for this project. So we can send out an email with that link specifically. Oh, weird. Thank you for pointing that out, Amanda. I was seeing some issues when I was making the page, but then when I published it seemed fine. So if the text on that button is weird, I can take a look at that. Janine, knocking it out of the park with good questions. Yes, the holly and the ivy. I would love to talk to a linguist about why we say it like that, but I would like to say the holly and the ivy. It boggles the mind, but that's what we're going to do. Yes, yep, that's right. Mystery solved. Thank you, Addie. Ivy begins with a vowel, so it's the. Any other questions? If you'd prefer to be unmuted to ask your question, go ahead and say that in the chat as well. Thank you. Someone asked about a code for the tracks. Do you mean on the website? They shouldn't be behind the password protected section. Hopefully we can work this out. Okay, if there are no other questions, I just have a couple other housekeeping notes. I guess I sort of briefly covered it. Next week, please join us. We will have sectionals, rehearsal auditions due next Sunday. And after next week, we'll have one final rehearsal. Depending on how next week goes, that may be more of something like this. It may be more of a Q&A about recording. I just want to make sure everyone's feeling nice and comfortable in that arena. So we'll also try to save some time for that as well. Oh, good. Sherry asked, on the solo, just voice recording or video? I'm going to say I'd prefer video. We're going to have to get video going at some point anyways, and I think, yeah, I really just prefer to see people sing as opposed to just hear them. Oh, yeah, they are under rehearsal materials on the website. Oh, here, you know what? I'll just share my screen again and show you. So, if you are on the BelAirCommunityChorus.org homepage, scroll down to Festive Singing. And right here, view practice tracks. So it's under rehearsal materials. These are links to the music. And here are your practice tracks. And here they are. And you can click this button to download them. So you can throw them on your phone, do whatever you want, or you can listen to them right in the browser. So we can send that link out in an email so you have direct access, and I can also move it up the page a little bit as well. I'm sorry if you're having issues with this button. Maybe I'll look into that as well. Any other questions? Record in portrait or landscape? That is a good question. I've been saying landscape, but in doing so, try to include, so sort of like how I'm framed, you want a good amount of space above your head and to either side, but I do think landscape is going to work best. So if you're recording on a phone, portrait, landscape. So you'll want it to be in this orientation. All right, any other questions? These are all very good questions. Okay, well, if that's all for tonight, I want to thank everyone for joining us again. And if you have any questions over the coming week, please feel free to email us at info@belairecommunitychorus.org. Oh, one more question. Do all of us have to send you a recording? If you'd like to be included in the video, yes, I guess it's possible for you just to attend these rehearsals and not submit a video. Obviously, it's up to you, but it would be great to have as many people as possible. All right. Well, thank you again. Oh, no, I don't want to end before questions are done. So I find that standing to record is best just because your breath support's better. You can move around a little more freely, just like at a concert. So standing would be ideal. If there's no way for you to get your setup configured in a way that you're standing, sitting is fine. Just make sure you're sitting with good rehearsal posture. So on the edge of your chair, nice straight back, all that good stuff. All right, I am going to call it. We are officially a minute over. So please, if you have any other questions, you can save them for next time. You can email info@belairecommunitychorus. And thank you guys again for the bottom of my heart. It has truly been just a treat to have this to look forward to every week. And I am incredibly excited to see the final product. So thank you all very much. I truly appreciate all of you. Have a wonderful night.